So I'm building a Jaguar XJ8 with an LS swap and a turbo in it. And in my quest for updating it and finding cool stuff for it and just making it a little more modern, I was looking for an IKey system. Well, this is the one I settled on. This is the digital guard dog IKey, and it is the IKey-O. Sorry, my lighting sucks. And it's pretty sweet. It has two different modules that it comes with. It has a passive key entry module and a push button start module. And this is basically almost everything it comes with. I did take out the start stop button, but anyway, it's this is basically replaces your ignition switch, and it's got a bunch of high current relays in it. I think they're 60 amp relays, is what I read. So they're real good size relays in here. Everything is beefy about this. It is really well built, and it has far exceeded my expectations, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a little more chintzy than what it is, and it's pretty high quality. It's up there with some of the big name brands. And they're kind of unknown, but when I call their tech support, it's an American tech support, and you talk to technical people, and it's pretty good. And this is the other portion of the module. This is the actual, passive keyless system. And this handles like all your lock and unlock function, all your BCM style stuff. And this one actually handles your ignition switch, switching, and it does all the stuff automatically. It basically, like I said, it replaces your existing ignition switch. And the way it works is that you put this little key fob in your pocket, and just like a new style car with the iKey systems in them, when you walk up to the car, it unlocks the car, it turns the interior lights on for you. You get in, you press the brake, you push the start button, it starts the engine, and you're off. No fumbling around with keys or anything like that. And because of the XJ project that I'm working on, it was stuck in valet mode when I got it, and so unfortunately some of the features didn't work. Like, for instance, the trunk release doesn't work if it's stuck in valet mode, and I have no way of getting it out because it didn't come with keys when I got it. I actually ended up buying an ignition cylinder online, a used one, and I have no way of programming it, and I'm certainly not going to program it well, for one, the stock PCMs out of it, the stock TCMs out of it, because I swapped everything with the GM stuff. But in any case, this thing is pretty sweet. It even comes with an emergency bypass card, a set of them actually, and I bought it at Summit for $539, I believe, plus tax, obviously. And it's got a little wiring in the kit. It's got a pretty good set of directions, instruction manuals, and it comes with different install modules for the different modules that you're putting in, and then obviously the user and programming guide. And it's nice. It's really nice. I mean, I wasn't expecting the quality to be as good as it is. The key fobs are nice. The push start button is a Lexus style push start button, and it's got a real nice feel to it. Nice snap action switch in there. It is lighted, so it's got an LED ring around here, and also the center of it has an LED and it lights up. And there's certain programming stuff that's done through it. It flashes and does different things depending on what you're trying to do with the system. So it's got a little bit of feedback on it, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I'm going to be installing this in the car, and I'm going to work on it for a little while and try to get some things wired up, and then I'm going to I guess I'll edit into this video the next step of where I got and how I'm wiring it in. And there's a couple of trick things I have to do because I want the trunk to work. It's a push button trunk, and I want the trunk to work when I walk up. So I'm going to set it up so that when the interior lights come on, it fires a relay off the same circuit, and the relay allows the button in the trunk to work. So in any case, this is the first part of the video, and next time you see me, I will hopefully have some of this stuff installed, and I can talk about what it took. Okay, first thing, if you're going to install this on a stock Jaguar 9803, should have the same wiring, but this is the ignition switch wiring, and on the Jaguar, the ignition switch goes to ground. So when you click through all of the detents on the ignition switch, they all provide ground to a couple of relays and the BCM, and that's the most important thing, is that the your lock output, well, actually lock doesn't matter, but your accessory and your run and your start, for that matter, they're all going to be grounded. So and then it feeds the BCM, and it works, goes up here, and like I said, it feeds a couple relays as well, but the wires actually go to the BCM that does most of the heavy lifting, and then the BCM turns on a whole bunch of stuff as a result of this, these wires getting grounded. So when you hook up this module, the ignition module, or the push button start module, it's going to have a bunch of positive output. So it's going to want to feed power to these wires. Well, you can't do that, obviously. So what you have to do is you have to wire in a relay for each one of the runs. So the most important two being the run of the start. I'm sorry, the run of the accessory. The start has an option on the module for grounding the relay instead of applying power. So it'll apply ground for the start only. But the other two, the run power and the accessory power, run and accessory, when you wire this in, you're going to have to switch it out so that you're going to have to add a relay, basically, and this is how you're going to wire it in. This is the power from the Ikey module, the PBS module. It's going to come into an 86 terminal on a relay. It's going to fire the relay because the relay is already going to be grounded. When that happens, it's going to apply this ground through this circuit from 87 to 30, and then that gets spliced into the wiring coming out of the ignition switch. So you're going to cut the wiring at the ignition switch, basically, and then you're going to splice it in through this relay, so that when the Ikey system provides power to the relay will provide ground to the PB, or to the stock Jaguar stuff. So if you have a completely stock system, this is the way you're going to wire in that portion of it, and that'll get you to where all the functionality of the ignition switch will work and everything will power up. So that's the first part of it. That's just for a stock car. My car is going to be a little different because I'm running a GM PCM, so I'm actually going to use those power outlets to power the GM PCM. So here we are at the interior of the car, and you might ask yourself, where is the ignition switch? Is it hard to get to? Well, it's very easy to get to. It's right there, this little orange guy. And the wires that are shown on the wiring diagram are not necessarily the wires you're going to see on the back of this. The reason being is because there's no color associated between the switch and the plug for it, which is, sorry about the camera work, this guy right here, this white plug. This side of it down here is the factory wiring. That's the side that the colors are going to match on. This side is the side that the manufacturer of the part, grab my finger, side that the manufacturer of the part built out, and the wiring may not be the same as down there, which you can see it's not. So if you're looking for the wires to ground to make the PBS module work, it's going to be down here. So it's real easy to get to, it's easy to splice into, and I'm actually going to splice it on top of the connector so I can utilize the connector for the PBS. So the easiest way to do this is to get your snips out. Go ahead and snip the wires. There you go. And then you're going to want to pull the harness back. Oh, let's see if I can get down there and get it out. And yeah, this cover's in the way. There we go. Now you can kind of see it. But you got your harness. You're just going to pull it right back. Once you snip it, it'll pull right down out of the car. And this has all the ignition wires in it, as well as the, there you go, the ignition wires, as well as the key in feature, which you're not going to need anymore. You can delete that because that's just the input to the BCM that makes the speaker ding when you leave the keys in the car. So that'll no longer be necessary since you're deleting the keys. So I'm going to wire this to the jumper and then use the clip to reinstall it. So I'll be able to do this all on the bench since that disconnects from the white clip there. So okay, so I have the harness out of the car, and I have the blue. This guy right here is the key in wire. This is my start wire up here, and then this is going to be the ACC and run relays, obviously. And the black wire is the ground. It's already grounded to the vehicle, and it's what originally provides ground to the ignition switch. So you're going to tie that into pins 30 and 85 on both relays. And then these are both going to go to pins 87 rather. So let me hook this up right now. Try to do it with one hand here. So that's going to go there. Oops, wrong pin. It's difficult to film this at the same time. Yeah, close enough. Anyway, you get the point. So anyway, those are going to go, and what's going to happen is when this relay switches, it's going to provide ground to the system through the existing ignition just wiring, and it will provide, it'll turn everything on basically. So now with those connected to pins 87, when you fire, when the Ikey system provides power to 86 on the relays, so you're going to provide 86 for run power and 86 for ACC from the Ikey system. It'll switch the relays will send ground through, and the system will work just like it was. So this is kind of what it looks like in real life, I guess. Okay, when you get to the door lock portion of this install, you're gonna have to tap into some wires inside the door to make the door locks unlock and lock. So the way that they want you to do it is they want you to go onto this orange with yellow and then orange with blue, which I spliced in orange with green wire. And so I ran those out, and then I tested them with my power probe just to see if it worked, and it didn't. So then I started doing a little bit of research into it and got the diagram out. And this is for the North American specification. And when I looked into it, when you pull up on the latch, before I pull down the lock, pull up on the latch, it would lock and unlock all the doors. So it would do that now, but I cut the wire. But what I found is that this little tiny yellow with red wire here in this connector, and you can kind of see which point in the connector goes into, that is the door lock status. And what that does is it tells the module, the door module here, if the lock is locked or unlocked. When it changes status, it auto syncs basically. It changes the status of all of the doors to locked or unlocked. So if you, like right now it is open, and if I ground it, and you'll be able to hear on the power probe that it's monitoring it. So that's the way it does it. But if I change the status, see if I can do this, all the doors unlock. So all you have to do is ground, and then produce an open and produce a ground, and it'll lock and unlock the doors. So this has been the hardest part of this whole installation so far, and this should help a lot of people out. This is an 03 model, and I don't know if the other models are different, but I had a very, very tough time finding the answer to this. So hopefully that helps guys out who are thinking about doing this. Okay, so I ended up mounting the PBS module. Well, I haven't mounted it yet, but the PBS module and the keyless entry module are just kind of loosely wired in right now, and I have wires just going everywhere right now just to test, including like the driver's door and everything else. But it is working, and it does what it's supposed to do. I mean, I'm gonna have to change the brake switch because I have a negative powered brake switch that the power doesn't come on until after the ignition's on. But anyway, this I'll give you an idea. You press it once and it turns everything on, then you put your foot on the brake and hold it, and it starts the engine, which I don't have it hooked up yet, but it would start the engine and it would be running. And then to start it off, you just long press it, and that's that. And when you walk away, it shuts everything down, just, you know, as said in the operator's manual. So so far so good. Pretty neat system. A little bit challenging to install, but probably no worse than any other alarm. Okay, this will be my last video of what I'll call part one. I might make a part two once I get everything hooked up and the engine wired and everything. But for now, the system, the Ikey system is in, and this is the key fob. And you'll watch as I get closer to the car. It unlocks, and the push to start button comes on, and it kind of gets itself ready. If I put my foot on the brake right now, I can turn the ignition on, and everything is functioning as it should. I got a whole bunch of wiring to clean up still, and the power door locks, I believe it was yellow with red and yellow with blue wires that I originally tied into, they do work. The module, I had to reset the module by disconnecting the battery and reconnecting it, and then after that they started working fine. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but I got them to work, and I had to put them on a relay because the system fires a negative firing, and then it goes to the relays, and the relay converts it to positive. And then the same thing with the brake switch. I had to put the brake switch to a constant ignition switch on instead of like a switched, because before it was switched at the brake switch, and then when you turn the ignition switch forward, it would ground the circuit, and then the grounding of the circuit would actually tell the lighting module when to turn the brakes on and off. So now it is always hooked to ground. I actually grounded the wire out, and it doesn't seem to have any negative effect on the rest of the system. So it does use a relay as well, because the IKey module, the PBS module, is looking for a positive input on that, so I had to use a relay to go from negative to positive. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. This is probably as far as I'm going to get for a while. I have a whole bunch of other things I have to do on this car before to be ready for prime time. So right now the system does work, and I'm happy with it. And it's a little bit difficult to install, but definitely worth it.